The invisible puppet master. What if the greatest threat to your freedom isn't a tyrant, a government, or a shadowy cabal, but something far closer? What if the real enemy lives inside your mind, pulling strings you don't even see? Picture this, a puppet master, hidden in the shadows, guiding your thoughts, shaping your choices, nudging you toward paths you didn't choose. This isn't science fiction. It's the reality of how our minds are shaped, molded, and sometimes hijacked by forces we barely notice. 500 years ago, a man named Niccolo Machiavelli saw this enemy clearly. In the courts of Renaissance Italy, amidst betrayal and power plays, he uncovered a truth. Humans are not as free as they think. Our desires, fears, and instincts can be weaponized against us. His warnings, written in the pages of The Prince, weren't just for kings or schemers. They were for anyone who dares to think they're in control. But what does a 16th century philosopher have to do with you, scrolling through your phone in 2025? Look around. Social media algorithms feed you ideas that feel like your own. News cycles amplify outrage that seems justified. Even your closest relationships can subtly steer your beliefs. Are these really your thoughts, or are they planted, cultivated by forces that understand your mind better than you do? This is the hidden enemy, the art of manipulation, rooted in the very wiring of human nature. It's not just out there, it's in you. Today we'll unravel this mystery. We'll journey through history, psychology, and the modern world to expose how this invisible force works and how you can fight back. Because the first step to freedom is seeing the strings. Machiavelli's shadow, the roots of manipulation. In the flickering torchlight of Renaissance Italy, a man watched empires rise and fall, not through brute force, but through the quiet cunning of the human mind. Niccolo Machiavelli, a diplomat surrounded by schemers, saw the world as a chessboard where power was won not by swords alone, but by mastering the art of deception. His book, The Prince, wasn't just a guide for rulers. It was a mirror held up to human nature, revealing a truth we still shy away from. We are all vulnerable to manipulation. Imagine Florence, 1513. The city is a cauldron of ambition. Princes plot, popes scheme, and loyalty shifts like sand. Machiavelli, exiled and betrayed, scribbles his observations in the dim glow of a candle. He writes of leaders who wield fear like a sculptor's chisel, carving obedience from chaos. He speaks of flattery, a velvet glove hiding a dagger, used to bend wills without breaking them. But his sharpest insight? People want to be led. They crave certainty, even if it's a lie. This is where the hidden enemy takes root, not in castles or courts, but in the desires and fears that pulse beneath our skin. Machiavelli didn't invent manipulation, he dissected it. He saw how rulers exploited human instincts, our hunger for belonging, our dread of uncertainty, to shape entire societies. A well-timed promise, a carefully staged crisis, and suddenly, the masses move as one, unaware of the strings above. His warnings weren't about distant tyrants. They were about us, about the part of you that nods along to a charismatic voice, even when your gut whispers doubt, about the part that trusts a story because it feels true, not because it is. This isn't ancient history. The same instincts Machiavelli studied still govern us. The need for approval that makes you hesitate to speak out, the fear of missing out that pulls you into trends you don't fully understand. These are the cracks in your mind where manipulation slips in. And if a 16th century scholar could see it so clearly, what happens when that knowledge falls into the hands of those who wield it today? From Renaissance courts to our digital age, the game hasn't changed, only the players have. What makes Machiavelli's insights so chilling is their timelessness. He showed us that manipulation isn't just a tactic, it's a science, built on understanding the human psyche. And as we'll see next, that science has only grown sharper, exploiting weaknesses we barely recognize in ourselves. The psychology of control, why we fall prey. Machiavelli saw the strings of manipulation, but why do we let them pull us? Why do we, creatures of reason, so often dance to someone else's tune? The answer lies not in some grand conspiracy, but in the quiet machinery of our own minds. Our brains, for all their brilliance, are riddled with blind spots, cracks in our psyche that make us vulnerable to control. To understand the hidden enemy, we must first confront an unsettling truth. We were built to be manipulated. Let's start with a simple question. Why do you believe what you believe? You might say it's logic, evidence, or personal conviction. But psychology tells a different story. Consider confirmation bias. We gravitate toward ideas that fit our existing beliefs, like moths to a flame. A single tweet, a news headline, or a friend's opinion can nudge you deeper into a worldview, not because it's true, but because it feels familiar. This isn't a flaw, it's a feature, hardwired to help our ancestors survive by sticking with the tribe. But today, that same instinct makes us prey. Take a classic experiment, Stanley Milgram's obedience study in the 1960s. Ordinary people, told by an authority figure to deliver electric shocks to a stranger, complied. even when they thought it caused harm. Why? Not because they were cruel, but because they trusted the system, feared defying it, or simply didn't question the orders. This is the power of authority, one of many levers manipulators pull. It's why a politician's confident lie can sway millions, or why a trending hashtag can feel like gospel. Then there's the need for belonging. We're social creatures, wired to seek approval and avoid rejection. Imagine scrolling through social media, seeing a post that everyone seems to agree with. Your instinct kicks in. Agree, like, share. Disagreeing feels risky. Alienation stings. This fear of standing alone, what psychologists call groupthink, makes us conform, even when we sense something's off. Advertisers know this. Algorithms amplify it, curating feeds that trap you in echo chambers where dissent feels like betrayal. But it's not just external forces. Our own minds betray us. The availability heuristic makes us overestimate risks based on vivid stories, like fearing a plane crash after a single news report. Politicians and media exploit this, crafting narratives that inflame fear or outrage, knowing we'll react before we reflect. And then there's cognitive dissonance. When faced with evidence that contradicts our beliefs, we twist reality to avoid discomfort. Ever ignored a fact because it clashed with your worldview? That's your brain protecting itself at the cost of your autonomy. These aren't abstract theories. They're the invisible strings Machiavelli warned us about, now supercharged by a world that studies our every click. Every time you feel a surge of anger at a headline, or nod along to a charismatic influencer, ask yourself, is this my choice, or am I being played? The chilling reality is that our minds are not just open to manipulation, they're designed for it. And as we'll see, the modern world has turned this vulnerability into a science of its own. The modern puppet show, manipulation in today's world. If Machiavelli's Renaissance was a chessboard of cunning princes, our world is a grand theater where the stage never darkens. The hidden enemy he warned us about, manipulation, hasn't faded. It's evolved, armed with tools he could scarcely imagine. Today, the strings that pull us aren't just in the hands of kings or courtiers. They're woven into the very fabric of our lives, in the screens we scroll, the news we consume, and the systems that seem to know us better than we know ourselves. Welcome to the modern puppet show, where the audience is also the cast. Picture this: you open your phone, and your feed is a curated stream of outrage, inspiration, and ads that feel eerily personal. Algorithms designed by engineers who've studied human behavior down to its neural roots decide what you see. They exploit the biases we uncovered: confirmation bias, fear of missing out, the need to belong, serving content that hooks you before you can question it. Social media isn't just a platform, it's a laboratory, testing how to keep you scrolling, clicking, believing. In 2025, platforms like X don't just reflect public opinion, they shape it, amplifying voices that stir division or devotion, often by design. Consider the news. A single headline can spark a firestorm, not because it's true, but because it's engineered to trigger you. Media outlets, locked in a race for your attention, lean on Machiavelli's old tricks: fear and flattery. A story about a looming crisis makes your pulse race. Another praising your values makes you nod. Both are crafted to keep you tuned in, rarely to inform. Studies show that emotionally charged content spreads faster. Anger travels 6 times quicker than joy online. The result? A world where truth is secondary to what feels urgent. Politics takes this further. Modern campaigns don't just persuade, they manipulate at scale. Data firms analyze your likes, searches, even your typing speed, building profiles that predict how you'll vote before you do. In 2016, the Cambridge Analytica scandal revealed how targeted ads swayed undecided voters by exploiting psychological vulnerabilities. Today, those tactics are standard, cloaked in memes or viral videos that feel organic but are anything but. Machiavelli's princes would marvel at the precision, fear, and flattery, now delivered with surgical accuracy. Even workplaces play the game. Corporate cultures dangle promotions or praise to keep you compliant, while subtle pressures, like the expectation to always be on, exploit your fear of falling behind. Ever felt compelled to agree with a boss's bad idea? That's groupthink, the same force that silences dissent in online echo chambers. These systems aren't accidents. They're designed to keep you in line, just as Machiavelli's rulers controlled their courts. The scale is staggering, but the method is ancient. Every algorithm, every headline, every charismatic influencer is a descendant of the tactics Machiavelli saw. Understand what people fear, what they crave, and you can steer them anywhere. The difference now, the stage is global, the audience is billions, and the puppet masters are often invisible. Corporations, algorithms, or even ideas that take on a life of their own. As you sit there nodding or doubting, ask yourself, are you watching the show or are you part of it? Because if we don't see the strings, the consequences are dire. The cost of blindness, consequences of unchecked manipulation. The modern puppet show plays on, but what happens when we don't see the strings? When manipulation runs unchecked, it doesn't just nudge our choices, it reshapes our world, our relationships, and even who we are. The hidden enemy Machiavelli warned us about isn't content to pull a few threads. It weaves a web that can trap entire societies, leaving behind fractured communities, eroded freedoms, and minds at war with themselves. The cost of our blindness is steep, and history whispers its warnings as loudly as today's headlines. Look back to the 20th century. Propaganda fueled regimes that turned neighbors into enemies. In Nazi Germany, Joseph Goebbels mastered the art of repetition, twisting truths until lies felt like gospel. Millions followed, not because they were evil, but because their minds, craving certainty in chaotic times, were primed to obey. Fast forward to today, and the tools have changed, but the outcome hasn't. Social media campaigns, like those seen in recent elections, deepen divisions by feeding tailored narratives to every side. The result? A world where we shout past each other, each convinced we're right, while the truth drowns in the noise. But the cost isn't just societal, it's personal. Consider the toll of living in a world where every click, every ad, every post is designed to exploit your biases. You scroll, you react, you argue, and slowly your sense of self erodes. Psychologists call it identity disturbance, when external pressures blur who you are. Ever felt anxious after a heated online debate, or doubted your worth because you didn't fit the latest trend? That's the hidden enemy at work, sowing uncertainty that keeps you tethered to the very systems manipulating you. Studies show social media use correlates with rising anxiety and depression. Our minds weren't built for this constant tug of war. Then there's autonomy, the quiet casualty. Every time we let an algorithm choose our content or let fear of judgment silence our voice, we surrender a piece of our freedom. Mass consumerism thrives on this, convincing us we need the next product to feel whole. In 2024, global ad spending hit over $800 billion, each dollar betting on our inability to resist. Machiavelli saw this in his time. People persuaded to serve causes not their own. Today, we're persuaded to buy, to believe, to belong, often without questioning why. The stakes are higher now. Unchecked manipulation doesn't just divide us, it distorts reality itself. When truth becomes malleable, trust crumbles between friends, families, nations. We've seen it in misinformation campaigns that spark riots or sway votes, leaving societies fractured. And when we lose trust in each other, we lose the ability to resist the puppet masters. The cost is a world where we're not just controlled but complicit, sleepwalking through a script we didn't write. Yet this isn't the end of the story. The weight of these consequences can wake us up if we choose to see. The question is, will you keep dancing in the dark, or will you start cutting the strings, breaking the strings, reclaiming your mind? The web of manipulation is vast, its costs heavy, but it's not unbreakable. The hidden enemy thrives in the shadows of our unawareness. But what if you could see the strings? What if you could cut them? Machiavelli's warnings and the modern puppet show reveal a hard truth. Our minds are vulnerable, but they're also capable of rebellion. Reclaiming your mind isn't just possible, it's a quiet act of defiance, a way to take back the freedom that manipulation steals. The question is, are you ready to fight for it? Start with self-awareness, the first blade against the strings. Pause and ask, why do I feel this way? When a headline sparks outrage or a post pulls you in, trace the emotion back. Is it yours? Or was it planted? Psychologists call this metacognition, thinking about your thinking. It's like stepping outside your own mind to see the levers being pulled. Try this. Next time you're swept up in a social media storm, stop, check the source, question the intent. That simple act disrupts the machine. Next, arm yourself with critical thinking. Manipulation thrives on unquestioned narratives, but doubt is your shield. When you hear a claim, whether from a politician, an influencer, or an ad, demand evidence. Cross-check it against raw data or primary sources, not just what's trending. The Stoics, those ancient philosophers of self-mastery, taught us to focus on what we control, our judgments. When you question what's fed to you, you're not just resisting, you're rewriting the script. Then there's media literacy, your map through the modern theater. Algorithms want you to stay in their loop, but you can step out. Curate your own information diet. Seek diverse perspectives, even ones that make you uncomfortable. If you're on X, follow voices that challenge your bubble. Studies show exposure to opposing views reduces polarization. It's not about agreeing with everyone. It's about seeing the stage for what it is. Limit your screen time too. Less noise means more clarity. Finally, embrace intellectual independence. Manipulation preys on our need to belong, but true freedom comes from standing alone when it matters. This doesn't mean isolation. It means trusting your own reasoning over the crowd's roar. Journal your thoughts, debate them with yourself, and let your values, not likes or retweets, guide you. As Socrates said, know thyself. That's where the real battle is won. Cutting these strings isn't a one-time act. It's a practice. Each question you ask, each narrative you challenge, is a step toward a mind that's yours alone. The hidden enemy may be relentless, but so is your capacity to resist. Let's see what happens when you take that power back. Conclusion: a warning and a challenge. The strings of manipulation stretch across centuries, from Machiavelli's candlelit warnings to the glowing screens of our modern world. The hidden enemy, our own susceptibility to control, has always been there, lurking in the wiring of our minds. It thrives on our fears, our desires, our need to belong. But here's the twist. Seeing it for what it is changes everything. This isn't just a warning, it's a challenge to take back your mind, to live deliberately in a world designed to pull you off course. Machiavelli showed us that power preys on the unawake, but he also hinted at our potential to resist. Every time you question a narrative, pause before reacting, or choose your own path over the crowd's, you weaken the enemy's grip. The stakes are high. Your autonomy, your truth, your very sense of self, but so is your power. The same mind that can be manipulated can also be sharpened, trained to see through the fog of deception. So here's the challenge. Look within. Ask yourself, what strings are pulling you right now? Is it a belief you've never questioned? A fear that feels too real? A system that demands your compliance? The battle for your mind isn't fought in distant courts or algorithms. It's fought in the quiet moments when you choose to think for yourself. Start there. Start now. This journey doesn't end here. The world will keep spinning its webs, but you can keep cutting through. Stay curious, stay skeptical, stay free. And if this stirred something in you, join us for more dives into the forces shaping our minds. Hit subscribe, and let's keep questioning together. Because in a world of puppet masters, the greatest act of rebellion is to know your own mind. Will you take that step?